Good morning and welcome to worship here at First Parish in Framingham. I'm the Reverend Aaron Stockwell, Senior Minister, and it's an honor and joy to be with you today. Welcome to those of you in person, welcome to those of you online, and welcome to those of you who may be watching this service later. First Parish in Framingham is a welcoming congregation. Here it doesn't matter your age, your race, your ethnicity, how you move around in the world, or who you love. What matters is that you are a part of this beloved community. Gathered together since 1701, it is a place that has withstood so much, and it continues on because you are a part of this community, whether for the next hour or longer. Our service this morning was created around a story. A Stone Sat Still by Brendan Wenzel. We will be referencing it throughout the service. It was created through a process of Lectio Divina, sacred reading. Thank you as well to those who are making this service just a little bit more possible. Thank you to Marianne Orlando for these beautiful chancel decorations in honor of nature and her diversity. Thank you as well to Diane Bassett and Andre Lamontagne for serving as ushers. I think Jan Bolton is online serving as a virtual usher, and Robin Hedvig for the technical assistance. This morning I light our chalice with these words by the Reverend Eric Cherry. Eric served as the director of the international office at the UUA for about 17 years. These words are written in honor of the war in Ukraine. Eric writes, "The history is complex, the politics are intense, the fear and anger are overwhelming, and the future is unclear. But glimpses of a hopeful vision will not be bombed into oblivion by anyone. In prayer we call to mind the peacemakers, neighbors of different faiths with different histories, with different politics, with different emotions, who find room for each other in their hearts, in their dreams, and in their lives. Those who hold firmly to a vision of peace and justice anywhere in the world, but especially today in Ukraine. Spirit of life and love, be present with all who are suffering terribly from the violence in Ukraine. Lift up the hearts of those who fear and inspire courage among the peacemakers. Be present with political leaders, ensuring a retreat from violence and a procession towards the peace table. Guide the hands of all those who are caring for the injured, the hungry, and the grieving, and open our own hearts to compassion. Remind us of our complicity and responsibility, and lead us towards generous engagement, and move us always toward a vision of peace." We light our chalice for peace.
My dreams are holy. Please join me in the words of our spoken affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve all life with compassion, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God. The inspiration of our service this morning is this story, A Stone Sat Still, by Brendan Wenzel. We'll be hearing it twice this morning, and so I'll linger a little bit on some of these pages, and then the next time we read it, we'll read it straight through. A stone sat still with the water, grass, and dirt, and it was as it was, where it was in the world. And the stone was dark. And the stone was bright. And the stone was loud. And the stone was quiet. And it sat where it sat, with the water, grass, and dirt. And it was as it was, where it was in the world. We've noticed the snail has gotten a little higher than it was at the beginning of the story. And the stone was rough, and the stone was smooth. Guess it depends on who you are. And the stone was green, red, purple, and blue. And the stone was a pebble. And the stone was a hill for our tiny friend the beetle. And the stone was a feel, and the stone was a smell. I'm noticing all of the friends who have visited the stone in chalk. The tip of the nose. And it sat where it sat, with the water, grass, and dirt. And it was as it was, where it was in the world. And the stone was the wild, and the stone was a home. And the stone was a kitchen, and the stone was a throne. And the stone was a marker and a map and a maze. All these snail trails. A danger, a haven, a story, a stage. And the stone was a blink. And the stone was an age. Our snail has made it. And the stone was an island. And the stone was a wave. And the stone was a memory. And the stone was always. Have you ever known such a place? Where with water, grass, and dirt, a stone sits still in this world.
This is the time in our service that we set aside for sharing the things which weigh deepest on our hearts, the happy and sad moments, the things that are going on in our world. We share this joy from Ellen and Kim Fitzgerald, who write that their daughter, Cara Marjorie, was born on February 20th, 2022. Welcome to the world, Cara Marjorie. We share this uncertainty from Nancy, who writes, please send some good thoughts and prayers to my friend Claire, who is on a journey to find doctors who can help her with the rare form of cancer that she is dealing with. A great sorrow, of course. We pray for peace in Ukraine after the unprovoked attack by Russia and the ongoing siege. May the Ukrainian people have courage, strength, resilience, and may they know peace. We light one final candle for all of the joys and sorrows which remain too great to share.
In a minute here, we'll be putting something tangible in your hands if you are here with us present and in the service. And if you are online, we invite you to find a tangible thing in a minute. We'll explain more. But before that, we hope that you will consider the intangible gifts that you bring in your time, your talent, but at this moment in our service of your treasure. We have collection plates located at the back of our hall here, and if you are online, you may go to our website, uuframingham.org, to give. We thank you for your generosity and all the many gifts that you bring here. Now I'm going to invite forward Veronica and Amanda to help me out, for we're going to be giving you a rock. And if you are at home, perhaps you have a stone or a rock that you can find in your home. We'll have some music to help you cover here in just a minute. And I want you to choose a rock. Any rock will do. We'll have a little music as this goes on here. Thank you. Hopefully everyone has a rock in their hand. And we're going to examine this rock in a couple of different ways. Now, my history, as some of you know, comes from the museum world, and there is a strategy that we use to invite people into looking at art or artifact called visual thinking strategies. It's a critical thinking skills curriculum, asks you to back up what you see and know about an object with evidence. And so the first question that is asked is, what's going on with your rock? And then the next question that is asked is, what do you see that makes you say that? And then the following is, what else can you see? It's a simple strategy. So take a minute with your rock here. Feel it in your hand. Turn it over. Decide what is unique or different about your rock than any other rock you may have seen. And I'll be coming around with a microphone in just a second. I haven't done this in 2 years. I'm very excited. So what's going on with your rock? What is going on with your rock? Yes.
I like this rock because it's got a nice oval shape. It's very smooth, and it kind of reminds me of the surface of the moon.
We've got some moon rocks going on over here. What do you see that makes you say that?
Because it has that white, hazy filament look to it that you see when you look up in the sky at the moon.
Reminds me of that page in the book where the stone was bright. What else? Yeah.
My stone was in a stream or something. It was worn smooth by water.
What do you see that makes you say that?
It's very smooth. It's beautiful.
Nice. Yeah, mine is smooth too. What else is going on with your rocks, Marianne? Yeah.
My stone is sedimentary because I took geology, and this is made of very fine textured sediment.
We got some geology background here. Knowing the background of your rock, yes.
So my stone also looks like it's been smoothed by water, but it has some little pocks and marks that tell me maybe it's been tumbled and hit some obstacles in its path.
Very interesting. Perhaps it has hit some obstacles along its path to smoothdom, as it were. What else? Anybody have any striations in their rock?
Mine is dark with an intrusion of white, which I've seen many times. But then there's a strange, it's almost like someone took a pen and drew a trapezoid on it. I don't understand this part.
I see that on your rock as well. It looks to me like your rock came through a similar process that mine did, with writing on it. I think that might be writing. Yeah, these rocks have seen some things. Yes.
My rock is small, but it's very smooth. It's kind of like a grayish color, but then it's also dark blue. It has different colors in it, and it's smooth.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah. Yours is almost blue. And if you are at home, and if you are on Zoom, perhaps you will type into the chat window, what's going on with your rock? Or if you are watching this later, feel free to email me. What's going on with your rock? Where has it been? What has it seen? What is the story that your rock tells? So that's just one way of thinking and looking at our rock. And now Reverend Aaron will share another way.
So we have heard, perhaps, and you have practiced, perhaps, the process of Lectio Divina, sacred reading. There is also a process known as Visio Divina, sacred observing, perhaps. So I invite you to hold your rock in your hand. Feel the weight of the rock. I invite you to turn it over a few times. Maybe drop it. Close your eyes and feel it with your hands. Look at it closely. What do you see? As you continue to turn it again and again with your hands, what are 3 things that you keep coming back to, 3 parts of it that you notice again and again and again? As you continue to turn the rock, where's your mind wandering off to? What things does this rock remind you of? Are there songs, poems, scenes from a movie or TV show or cartoon? Books that you've read? Selections from the world's scriptures? As you continue to turn this rock in your hand, noticing different parts of it, is there a lesson that you might be taking away from this rock? Is it teaching you some new way of being in the world? How might you live your life a little differently? Or how might your life stay the same from the lessons you learned from this rock? A stone sat still, with the water, grass, and the dirt. And it was as it was where it was in the world. What is this story about? Yes, it is a story about how perspectives can shift, how a rock or a stone is big or small, a haven, a stage, a kitchen, is that a line? A ripple, a wave, a memory. And there is a whole sermon we could explore about that. But as my colleague, the Reverend Sadie Lansdale, often says, a perspective shift is not good news. An attitude adjustment is not good news. Reminding someone in the worst moments of their life or the best moments of their life that someone has it much worse, or you just need to shift how you're looking at the world, is not very helpful. Who has been told during those terrible moments, oh, you just have to look at it this way and everything will be okay? It usually never is. In this story, who do you identify with? Do you identify with the rock, or the stone, or the unseen narrator, or the squirrel using the rock as a kitchen, or others using it for shelter? The good news of this story is that no matter what, no matter the sunny days or the rainy days, there is always something that stays the same. And perhaps it is the work of communities like ours, churches, temples, synagogues, small groups. Perhaps it is the work of those communities to help people identify what remains the same in a changing, chaotic, beautiful, war-torn world. As I think about stones and rocks, I remember a moment from a 7th grade health class that for a reason and a lesson now lost to memory, my teacher played the song, the Simon and Garfunkel song, I Am a Rock. A song that glorifies isolation and encourages us to not feel our emotions, which sometimes we need. But I think we should let our hearts break, because they do anyways. We should be okay with feeling our emotions. We should let that heartbreaking move us to change something about the world. This story could also be a story about the transient and the permanent. The stone here is permanent. The environment around it is the transient. If I say those words and something comes up in your mind, and you're thinking, where did I hear that phrase before? Maybe it is from a sermon from 1841 that Theodore Parker preached down in Boston. In that sermon, he proposed that there were things that stayed the same and things that changed in religion. The things that stayed the same, the stones, those were not controversial. Everybody agreed with him. The teachings of Jesus summed up great truths of morality and religion. Again, the stones that stayed the same. But then he moved on to preach about the transient, what things changed. And that list was controversial. He preached that church doctrine, including the authority of the Bible and the person and the nature of Jesus, those were changeable, the environment. and pointing out that those were changeable, that ruffled some feathers. The work of faith communities is to identify what remains the same. What are the rocks? And then doing something with the fact that there is something unchangeable. There is something that is permanent. But what we also take away is that our tradition is, in fact, a living one. We believe that so much we say that we sing the living tradition on the front of our hymnals. I might imagine writing a letter to Theodore Parker and saying, "Dear Theodore, we as your heirs have even moved away from saying that the teachings of Jesus are permanent. Even that, dear Reverend Parker, has become transient. What do you say to that?" And at first, I think he would respond that he was perplexed. But then he also might respond that he was pleased. Of course, he'd exclaim, of course, why didn't I think of that? That has also become transient and changing. I would hope he would also ask us, so what remains? What remains permanent? The Reverend Carl Scoville, a Unitarian Universalist minister, said in 1994 that there is a good which existed before we were born, moves in us when we are alive, encourages us, and we return to that goodness when we die. Scoville concludes by saying, neither duty nor suffering, nor progress, nor conflict, not even survival, is the aim of life. Joy is the aim of life. Deep, abiding, uncompromised joy. Do you believe what Scoville is saying? Do you believe that the stone that sits still is joy? When I shared an earlier draft of this sermon with a worship workshop that I'm a part of, one member said, no. How can I feel that joy is there? But then that same person said, yes, I can believe that. In the midst of the turning into year 3 of the pandemic, or my math was wrong there, I don't know how long it has been. In the midst of war in Ukraine, in the midst of all of the turmoil, leaders in Texas and Georgia saying that trans people and gay people are not worthy, are not whole. There is still deep, abiding, uncompromised joy. It still persists. Dorothy Soleil said that joy, laughter, and delight are so powerful because, like all mysticism, they abolish conventional divisions. In this case, the division between the secular and the sacred. Perhaps really when you take away some more layers on this rock, the thing beyond joy that endures is our deep longing for everyone to experience and know joy and peace, and to always be unsatisfied that that work is unfinished. A stone sat still, and it was as it was, where it was in the world. We're going to end by hearing our story again. Rebecca will read it. As you listen, I invite you to engage with it in however way you see fit, but I invite you with these questions that are on the order of service. As you listen to it, what stood out to you? How did you feel, or where did your mind wander off to? After hearing this story, how will the next few days be different? Or how will the next few days be exactly the same? As we end our service, and you strike up a conversation with somebody next to you, or you drive off with somebody, or you enter coffee hour, or you close the browser window, consider those prompts to start your conversation.
A Stone Sat Still by Brendan Wenzel. A stone sat still with the water, grass, and dirt, and it was, as it was, where it was in the world. And the stone was dark. And the stone was bright. And the stone was loud. And the stone was quiet. And it sat where it sat with the water, grass, and dirt. And it was as it was, where it was in the world. And the stone was rough, and the stone was smooth, and the stone was green, red, purple, and blue. And the stone was a pebble, and the stone was a hill, and the stone was a feel, and the stone was a smell. And it sat where it sat, with the water, grass, and dirt, and it was as it was, where it was in the world. And the stone was the wild, and the stone was a home, and the stone was a kitchen, and the stone was a throne. And the stone was a marker, and a map, and a maze. A danger, a haven, a story, a stage. And the stone was a blink, and the stone was an age. And the stone was an island, and the stone was a wave. And the stone was a memory. And the stone was always. Have you ever known such a place? Where with water, grass, and dirt, a stone sits still in the world.
As we leave this friendly place, let us move out into the world with action. Let us move out into the world to seek to bring peace to all of the war-torn parts of our world. May those people there know safety, strength, courage, resilience, and peace. And as we go out into the world, let us take the light of love and use it to brighten our pathways. And when we need to rest or recharge, be challenged or affirmed, may that light guide us safely back. May we hold the light always, and the light hold us always. Amen. And go in peace.